coolest part of owning a DeLorean is doing that. Automatic, so it's not like the fanciest of the fancy. You can't rip through the gears like Marty McFly, but it does give you an idea as to what it's like to ride in a DeLorean. It's really quiet, it's real tame, it's not like crazy and loud, and it's not what you get from like a typical old 80s sports car that's like a old Ferrari or something like that. So we're doing 25, so we're not gonna go back in time just yet. But listen to this thing. It's like a Cadillac. It's very 80s in the way that it's not a super stiff ride like modern cars. It's very soft and docile and easy to drive and not very demanding from the driver's perspective. But I just love these quarter glass windows like the old Countach. FM radio with the cassette. And it's awesome, man. It's just a journey. It's an experience driving an old car like this because they just don't make them like this anymore. Back to the shop, gonna get inside, get the wide body car on the ground, and talk about what we're gonna be doing with it. All right, guys, we got the wide body car down on the ground, well, halfway on the ground, and as you can see, she's down to her skivvies. No wide body kit, no fancy headlights. Well, we do have some buckets in there. Playing around with different headlight designs. I got pretty much everything stripped off the car that made it what it was back in 21. And she's ready like a phoenix to make her debut again with some modifications that we're gonna be doing. So, what are we doing to the car? Why is the wide body kit off the car? The wide body kit was made back in 21 in a very, very short time period. It was made in a hurry. My buddy Tyler from Fortune Auto Design, he actually did all the CAD work for the car to take it from concept from the Kaiza, well, Kaiza Salim, we call him the Kaiza, to reality. So when you have a rendering, when you have a sketch, and you want to turn that into reality, you need someone like Tyler in order to actually take it from concept to reality. So we're going to be doing that again. We're working again with Tyler from Fortune Auto Design. I'm super excited to work with him on this project because he's one of the premier designers and actual builders of wide body kits and custom aero. We're not messing around with the taillights because this is the meal ticket, obviously. We're going to be revamping a couple things on the car. We're going to be messing around with the exhaust. We're going to be messing around with the oiling system to try to get it to stop leaking. I'm pretty sure I'm about 99.9% on how I'm going to get that done. But our main focus today on this episode is the wide body kit. Now I'll show you what we're dealing with on the actual flares. These are the rears and these are the fronts. Now the fronts, when they made them in the molds, these body parts, he made a positive mold instead of a negative. So the parts actually get laid up on the inside. And what happened when he did that is he took too much material off the inside and outside of the actual flare, and it ended up making it oblonged. I think what also happened is when it actually cured, it kind of like shrunk in on itself. So this time around, we're actually going to be 3D printing these parts and then overlaying them with some sort of either fiberglass or carbon fiber to give it a little more strength. And then it'll probably go back to a matte black or something a little fancier, I'm not sure. Also, the front bumper is showing its age. It's got some cracking going on over here just from loading and unloading on vehicles. This is an extremely aggressive car, guys, as far as like the setup goes, and just getting it to car shows and getting it to and from places has been like a complete and total nightmare. So my plans with this setup, this iteration actually, is to take it from concept to reality. So make it less concept car, more of a actual production car. So what maybe John DeLorean would have done if he had access to the technology we do now. Originally the car had 50 mil spacers up front, so it took the wheel out about yay. I got rid of those, shrunk the wheel in a little bit, so it's actually 2 inches narrower in the front, and the car had 20 mil spacers in the rear, which are still on there, and you can see almost the entire wheel is outside of the fender line. So we're going to take those off too. We're going to narrow the entire car up in order to make it more drivable and more streetable, as opposed to like wild, insane, and crazy. It's still going to be pretty wide compared to a normal DeLorean. The only difference is now it's going to look a lot less race car and more like OEM plus, like our model for a DMC-12, which I'm kind of pumped about. So we're going to be busting out our Einstar scanner. This is a really cool scanner a lot of guys are using now. It's pretty affordable. It's not super expensive. I'm not sponsored by these guys. I'm just really blown away by the quality. So we're gonna go ahead and get the car all dotted up, get everything situated, get ready to get scanning so that we can start recreating our version 2 widebody. All right, so we have all of our mesh points on the car in order for the scanning process. And if you're wondering what these little reflective dots are that I was putting on the car, this is what creates the mesh when you're scanning. These little dots are telling the actual scanner where these points are in space, and then it creates the actual object on the computer in real time at the actual size that it actually is. Now, since we're doing the entire car, I'm probably gonna split this up into 3 different scans. First scan is gonna be this front quarter. Second scan is gonna be the side here, probably from the door down to the sill so we can capture all this data. And then the third scan will be this rear quarter panel, and I'm actually gonna do 4. I'm mistaken because Tyler wants to do a rear diffuser on the back of the car because we thought that it looks a little incomplete with the turbo system and exhaust and stuff like that. That being said, the exhaust might have to get changed and stop the cans from coming down so low and do something a little bit more direct out of the turbos with just some pipes and stuff like that as far as bringing this up so that the rear diffuser can then come up, and then we have our exhaust going out the rear diffuser, which actually aids in downforce. When you have the hot air going to that rear pressure zone, the air coming under the car is actually going to pinch down, and then when it releases, that's what creates your downforce. When you add hot air back here, you can look on like a Formula 1 car and stuff like that, they incorporate the exhaust system into the diffuser and supercharges the effect, further pulling the aerodynamics of the back of the car down. Not saying we're gonna be taking this thing up to 180, but it'd be cool to incorporate some technology like that into it. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is start with the back end of the car. All right, so our scan for the back side of the car is done. As you can see, we can zoom in on this bad boy. Look at the detail on this. So this is gonna help out Tyler as far as making the rear diffuser. So what he has is our cross member there. So right there, our cross member, that'll act as its mounting point here. And then from here, we'll be able to come right up and make some sort of a rear diffuser element for the center of the car. All right, so what we're gonna do is go ahead and save this scan, and then we're going to work our way to the front and do the side. Now, when you're scanning a car, guys, to do wide body kits or any aero parts, you only have to do one side of the car because the other side's exactly the same. You just mirror it in the program. So we're just gonna be scanning the driver's side of the car to be able to get all the data points that we want for the wide body kit, and then we're pretty much all done. All right, guys, we got all the scanning done. Everything is situated as far as getting all of the exterior of the car ready for the new wide body kit. Now what we have to do is do some damage control. As you can see, the stainless steel has a bunch of little scratches and imperfections on it. And there's also leftovers from the painting that was done on the car not too long ago. And you can see on the inside edges here. So what I want to do is I'm going to break the whole car down. I'm going to show you guys how you exactly take apart a DeLorean. So we're going to take all the stainless panels off the car. We're also going to be prepping different areas for the new closeout panels that we made that go over where the factory markers went back here. So basically just kind of getting everything situated with getting all this, like, what's this called, this double-sided tape off. And we're also going to be redetailing the engine. Not too much that we have to do inside of here, but I just want to give it a nice fresh once over to make sure everything is perfect. We're also Well, I've been in the process of kind of getting the interior dialed in. I went ahead and I finished out that bezel around the shifter. My apologies for not filming it, but it wasn't that exciting. I ended up just, this was black before, and I just made it so that everything kind of matches. You have your black and your brushed aluminum overtones that kind of flow through. And then we have our Airlift Performance actual controller that's there where the ashtray used to be for cigarettes. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and start dismantling the exterior of the car, getting it all broke down and getting ready to get this thing back together and get the new wide body kit on. But first, of course, we have to take it apart. So let's get to work. As you can see, we got the wide body car stripped down to its skivvies, and there's not much left. There's no stainless steel on the car anymore except for the doors and the hood. Now, if any of you guys are wondering and have seen in past videos I've done, this is what a DeLorean is. This is it. Like, you could drive the car like this. It's just literally a fiberglass tub that you sit in and there's an engine on it. Now, the chassis is steel, of course, and then they bolted the body to it, but this is what you get. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be detailing the engine, getting it all back up to presentable state. We got some pitting on the valve covers there that we're going to be getting rid of. I'll just start it on this side already, just kind of cleaning it up. We're just going to do a little detail job on it. We do have some things that we have to do to the exhaust and a couple of little odds and ends. The biggest reason why I took these panels off is because I wanted to clean up these edges right here. I couldn't really get in there too much, so I'm going to use the wolf wheel and actually regrain these panels, get them all looking really perfect, really good, and get them all up to speed. The rear panel as well, we're going to be detailing that, getting some things done to it. It's just a lot easier to get everything done when it's off the car. These are the tail lights that we made. So I don't know if you guys have seen these before, but these are a solid block of acrylic glass. And my buddy Steve from Skeptic Innovations made these LED inlays that actually light up the glass. So these are super, super fragile. So we're gonna leave them there like that for now. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and start regraining all of the stainless steel, getting that all situated. I do wanna regrain the hood. I have some schmutz here on this edge that I couldn't get to originally. So we'll probably do that. And then the front bumper looks like it probably needs to get repainted because of just some wear and tear for over the years. These cars are super fragile, guys. Like, if you ever wanted to buy a DeLorean or get into this, they're just really high maintenance cars. And for that, you know, they look really cool, but you know, they're high maintenance. So we're gonna go ahead and throw the seat back in and then start regraining all of our stainless steel. All right, so we have the two front fenders done. I just wanted to stop real quick and show you guys the process. So what we're doing is we're regraining the stainless steel, and how we're doing that is with something called a wolf wheel. Now, this is an actual tool that they used back in the day when they built the DeLoreans new, and it was pretty hard to find this thing. So as you can see, it's got this brush and it's got the sandpaper. These brushes actually will get rid of the dust that collects in the stainless steel, as opposed to it collecting on the sandpaper, which then gouges the metal. So what you don't want to happen is the metal to be gouged and you have a bunch of like weird lines. So we already went ahead and did the passenger side. So this is kind of like the finish that we're looking for. It is not, this is not the same as what an original panel came with on DeLorean. The original panels were duller, they weren't as shiny, and I actually hit this with 220. So it's going to give it a little bit more of a shine to it, which is kind of like a more unique look that I'm going for. So now that we have the front fenders done, we're going to keep cranking on regraining all the stainless steel. We will be doing the rear quarters next, which is a little bit bigger. Once the rear quarters are done, then we're going to go ahead and probably do the roof panel, which is this guy right here. which is really not that bad. It's not gonna need a whole lot, but let's go ahead and get those rear quarters done first, and then we'll be able to get on to the next step, getting this thing back together. Alright, so we have our rear deck lid closeout panel here that we made a while back. This piece actually goes on the back original area on the deck lid of the DeLorean. Now, as you can see on the original, these were the exhaust vents for the engine, and the exhaust vents actually translate through to these vents that go underneath the secondary panel here. Now on the wide body car, all of this is gone, so it's completely wide open. So in order to get as much heat out the back of the car as possible, because of the twin turbo V8, I went ahead and kept this element. Now I wanted to have a piece here that kind of tied in the stainless steel as opposed to it all just being black. And then we obviously made these clear so you could see the engine through. So in doing that, it kind of served its purpose, but for right now, the center panel is kind of warped from welding on it a couple times, and there's this weird cut that's in the middle of it that I just don't want to mess with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new one out of a fresh sheet of aluminum, and I also want to change some of the design characteristics. I want to do more of like an angled, slatted, kind of multi-layered piece design, something a little bit more 80s. Now these look just like the taillights of the DeLorean, that's why I kind of did that way. But I'm thinking about doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and get the base shape cut out and get our actual mounting holes transferred over. So before I go ahead and start cutting this thing up, I wanted to show you guys a little pro tip. If you're going to be doing any sort of brushing on any larger pieces where you're going to have big holes cut out in it and like panels and stuff, just go ahead and do it first before you cut it out, because you know, you have a nice flat surface to work for. I've got the Scotch-Brite pad. You know, I de-8'd it out first to get all of the numbers off and all of the scaling off from the original finish from the aluminum foundry. Then I went ahead and used my Wolf wheel, which is the same exact wheel I used to actually grain the stainless steel pads. I just used a fresh piece of sandpaper so that I'm not cross-contaminating the metal. And then I went ahead and used an 80 grit with a piece of wood, got everything nice and smoothed out, and then did a 180 and then a red Scotch-Brite. That gives me a nice even finish. And actually brushed aluminum looks very similar to the same hue or tone of the stainless steel. It's like almost one and the same. So now we're gonna go ahead and transfer over our pattern from our original panel to our new brand new brush panel, and then start incorporating those new designs elements that I was talking about before. Alright, so we have the new panel pretty much lined up, and as you can see from the old panel, we had a lot larger area in the center here, and these vents were a lot smaller. So I went ahead and extended them out. We'll be putting a titanium plaque here with the company logo, and then I'm going to be doing this like silhouette, like this lattice, and then there'll be grill, like an actual mesh grill inside of these 4 pockets here, which look kind of cool. So we're going to start cutting. Alright, so we got our new panel made, and as you can see, there's a lot more detail that is going into this one as opposed to the old one where I just had the holes. And the reason I did that originally is I just didn't have the time to make it the way I wanted to. Now it's still looking a little blank here, so I might add like 2 more vents on the top and bottom of this guy, of where the plaque area is going to go. And I'm also thinking about giving it a little bit more dimension and having my buddy JC make some billet flanges for this, to be able to give it that 2-dimensional look as opposed to just a flat plate. I don't know if I have time to do that. In the meantime, we're gonna get this situated. I still have to notch up here to get this to slide up, and then I'm gonna re-drill all of our mounting holes and get this bolted down. And obviously I got some overspray here from Supercar Week last year when my buddy Art Lana went ahead and painted the car. So we're gonna get that all done now. We're gonna go ahead and roll the flip car out and get the wide body car back on the ground. I've been spending a lot of time trying to get the engine all cleaned up. As you can see, we got everything removed here, back here. We went ahead and just did a nice Scotch-Brite finish on the intake manifolds on these plenums that are going to be connecting to our individual throttle bodies. The next thing I want to do, guys, before we start working on the new wide body kit is we're going to be putting the factory panels back on. So we have our rear panels over here that have been completely redone. The Scotch-Brite and the brushing came out really cool. Came out awesome, actually, so I'm super jazzed about that. We're gonna go ahead and put the whole car back together as far as the factory panels go, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. So for right now, let's just get some panels on the car. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that episode. We got the DeLorean up to speed. As you can see, our new closeout panel is looking really nice and fresh. We have our original mesh grill in there, and we also cleaned up the engine bay real nice. Got everything looking really, really good for the show. So next episode, we're gonna be talking to Tyler from Fortune Auto Design, getting a little bit of the inside baseball as far as how you design and build aero parts and body kits, like what's gonna be going on in this car. And we're also gonna be showing a little bit of the process on how you make one. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you on the next episode.